Child benefit caps leave mothers in fear of how to feed and clothe their children. We're going to read into this more from the iPaper, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from the iPaper with the headline of Child benefit caps leave mothers in fear of how to feed and clothe their children. And a quarter of mothers reveal that they are worried about not being able to pay for essentials for their children. This is really significant, guys. There was, for those who are not aware, there was a report by the Joseph Rowntree Foundation on child poverty in the UK, and it found that child poverty is set to increase by 2030 in its projection of quite a significant amount here in England. While child poverty is child poverty is still a problematic in Scotland, it is the only nation out of all four of them that is actually reducing child poverty, and one of the biggest factors of their reduction going to be reduction in child poverty, even though they will still have the issue like everywhere else, is they're removing the child benefit cap, which is what we're talking about. Now, for all those people who continue to make the arguments of why it's a necessity and why it's helpful for them, I strongly suggest you go do your research and your homework on this, because the child benefit cap is a detriment to many mothers and children out there. And this premise of that people have of people having more than two children, and you're scrutinizing or reprimanding them just because for having children, it's just wish-washing. It's just wish-washing. The whole point of a government is supposed to be there to provide for people, to give them the best assurances in life, and give them everything that they need to be able to be successful. And we're talking about children here, people, right? We're talking about children. We're not talking about homeless people. We're not talking about veterans. We're not talking about adults here. We're not talking even about the elderly. We are talking about children, the next generation of our futures here. We're talking about their futures at risk here as a direct result of the government not doing anything about child poverty. And they're sitting on their laurels about the child benefit cap. And it has been statistically proven in many various reports and analysis and experts on child poverty that if you remove the child benefit cap, you will reduce child poverty in the UK as a whole. In England specifically, here I want to talk specifically in England. Child poverty will be reduced, but instead it's actually set to get worse. And what's been done in the meantime? Some spring assessment is going. We have to wait for the assessment to come review. That's what the government will say. And they will say we take child poverty very, very seriously while it's also on the rise. I don't care if you're a Conservative voter, a Reform voter, a Labour voter, whatever your political ideological differences. No child should have to struggle. No child should have to have a hard time in life. Every child should be given the best opportunities. And this idea or premise about blaming ordinary people, no, we should be helping people and helping children in best ways we possibly can, and stop being so goddamn selfish and start being a little bit selfless and a bit more helpful to people out there. It's not right that these mothers are in this situation in any way, shape or form. So ministers have been urged to scrap the punitive benefits cap and support women into work, as a quarter of mothers revealed that they fear not being able to feed and clothe their children. A report to be published on Friday, shared exclusively with the iPaper, warns the government its growth mission will not work without investment in public service in an effort to reduce poverty levels. Economic think tank, the Women's Budget Group, the WBG, urged the government's Child Poverty Taskforce to recommend ministers to lift benefit limits and make it easier for mothers to get into well-paid work. Polling carried out by YouGov and published in the report revealed 28% of mothers consistently or often worry about meeting their children's essential needs such as food, heating and clothing. This compares to 18% of fathers. In total, 24% of all parents are either often worried or consistently worried. YouGov surveyed 4,476 adults last month, of which 1,123 were parents and guardians of children. Parents of larger families with 3 or more children were more likely to say that they are consistently worried about meeting the costs, with 16% agreeing compared to just 10% of parents in general. Dr. Sara Reis, report author and deputy director of the WBG, said that the polling was a reflection of the fact that they are still very much facing a cost of living crisis and it hasn't gone away. Yeah, this idea that people might have that the cost of living crisis is over because Labour are in power is nonsense. I should also point out that everyone's council taxes is going up. Everyone's energy bills are going up as well as water bills. So how are people in poverty who are on the low end of income, how is that going to help them? Oh, they're getting an increase in minimum wage. Is that going to offset those costs? Not really enough. So here it is. Do you think if any of the following would help improve your current financial situation? Multiple choice. This is the YouGov poll here. So you can see lower energy costs, 64% the highest. 26% on changing the child benefit cap. Affordable childcare before and after school, 24%. Free school meals, 20%. Affordable housing, 20%. This one, the free school meals thing, I really have to stress this, people. Why do we have an issue with giving children free school meals? Like, why are there people who have this issue? Like, are you that immoral? Do you have no heart? Like, this should not be up for debate. Every single child should be guaranteed a meal. Guaranteed breakfast, guaranteed lunch, guaranteed supper. They should be guaranteed it. This should not be a debate. This should be a given to all children, so they are all given the best opportunities. Because how is a child supposed to be successful, the best that they can be, if they're not going to get a full belly of food? She welcomed the government's plans to improve employment rights and encourage more people, including women, into employment. But she argues that pushing for economic growth before tackling welfare and public service was the wrong way of approaching the issue. Yeah, this is the crux of the issue here. She keeps banging on about growth, but unless they deal with public services and dealing with people's issues, you're not going to get that economic growth. The report urges the government to take action in several areas to improve the income of women and mothers, and in turn their children. Encouraging women into the workplace is key, the WBG argued, and emphasises on investing in affordable childcare system, training and transport to enable access to jobs. In knowing that the government's Back to Work policy paper published last year, which set out a plan to get more people into paid employment by overhauling job centre support to offer more tailored support. The government is also committed to continuing the expansion of childcare provisions to help parents juggle work and caring. But Dr. Reis said focusing on employment alone is too narrow. Her report contains a series of recommendations around welfare, arguing that additional costs and raising children should be reflected. Some benefits should be universal rather than means tested, and child benefits should be restored to pre-2010 levels by raising it to £30 a week, it said. Punitive measures like the 2-child cap in universal credit in the benefit cap should be abolished. And welfare should be an individual entitlement rather than being measured at the household level to ensure that women have their own income. Ministers were also urged to look at reducing the cost of essentials, including energy, housing, transport and food. Dr. Reis said the policy was the most evidence that is directly linked to child poverty is the 2-child cap on welfare. Again, another person making this claim. The government has refused to scrap the 2-child benefit limit and has promised billions of cuts in overall welfare budget. Yeah, because cutting the welfare budget is definitely going to fix the issue, right? The 2-child benefit cap introduced by the evil Conservative Chancellor George Osborne in 2017 restricts universal credit and child tax credit to a family's first 2 children for the most households. It is reported to affect an estimated 2 million children in the UK, about 1 in 10, and leave low-income families $3,200 a year worse off for each child over that limit. It will cost about $3.4 a year to lift. And it is a deeply unpopular policy in the Labour Party and has been condemned by many MPs in the past. Keir Starmer said the decision not to remove it is difficult. Though I said before the election we're not going to be able to afford to scrap it because of the damage the Tories have done. I've said this before and I've said it again. If the Labour Party, if any government ever tells you that they don't have money for something, they're lying. They always have money for something. It is a political choice. Everything is political, guys. Speaking to the I paper about the report, Dr. Reis said, When children grew up in poverty, there are additional costs to cover: social services, healthcare, NHS, and education. Children in poverty have additional problems. They lag behind schools. They are more likely to fall ill. All these things create additional costs. This is true. And this is why it's really, really important, guys, for all those who argue that we shouldn't be paying for free school meals, we shouldn't be paying for children's needs and all these kind of things. They become a problem. They become a problem for the state because we are not providing them at an early age with the essentials that they need to be successful in life. And if we provide them with the essentials they need to be successful in life, it means that they don't become a problem for social services. They don't become a problem for healthcare, because they won't be as unhealthy, because they won't be in much poverty, because they have been given the food that they need, the welfare that they've been needed at a young age, so that they're able to be successful and not rely on the state, so that they can be a productive member of society, rather than being a continuous problem on society, because guess what? The state has not provided for them when they're younger. So as they get older and they have all these problems because they were not given the help that they need, and they are becoming a problem for the state, for the state system. So in turn, it becomes a burden for the National Healthcare Service, for example. So when you complain about not enough beds in the healthcare system and whatnot, that's because that, in part, yes, you can argue. I know some people are going to claim it's immigration, but this is also a factor into it as well. But she went on that the government might think that they are saving on the welfare bill, but they are actually facing these costs in other departments. After coming into office last year, the Labour government launched the Child Poverty Taskforce to oversee the development and publication of an ambitious cross-party child poverty strategy. It is due to report in spring. Asked what would help their incomes, lowering energy costs was the top answer among both mothers, 65%, and fathers, 63%. Changing benefits, such as changing the benefit cap and increasing child benefit, ranks second highest on the list of priorities for mothers, with 29% believing it would make the bigger difference. I really hope so. That this report in spring, whenever it comes out, that whenever they come out of this child poverty task force, we actually do see action for it. I'm very skeptical of Labour, because they've allowed this to kind of just fester while children continue to suffer. As I've said, the trajectory of child poverty is set to increase unless a strong action is taken by this Labour government. Now, they said they're going to do it on a cross-party basis. Now, I hope that inputs from other political parties are put in, and it's not just a case of whatever the government does. My hope as well is that sufficient money is set aside in order to tackle this as well. My obviously gripe is that by keeping the 2-child cap, you're still leaving a huge chunk of children in poverty in doing so as well. But I will continue to criticise Labour on this, and rightfully so, because we should not have this issue. The fact that many charities out there are doing the work of government in order to help children in poverty is ridiculous. It's not right. And I commend anybody who works in charity that does the work that they do. But let's be very, very clear about this. It's the job of the state. It's what we pay our taxes for, to look after its people. It's not the job of charities. It's supposed to be the job of the state, and people forget that all the time. So what do you guys make of this story? What do you guys make of the situation around the 2-child benefit cap in comparison to England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland? Perhaps you're in a different part where the format is a bit different. Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comments section below. Make sure you hit the like button, share this across social media, and subscribe if you can. Do check out the Rumble and Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.